नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Hare Krishna. Welcome to our series of online classes on Krishna's Dwaraka Leelas. And in the last few episodes, we have discussed how Krishna had erected Dwaraka fort, and after that how Krishna killed Kalayavana through his devotee Muchukunda, and how Krishna married Rukmini Devi. Rukmini gave her heart to Krishna, and she had sent a love letter to Krishna through a Brahmana, and Krishna kindly reciprocated with her love and affection by coming to Kundinapur and kidnapping Rukmini Devi and taking her to Dwaraka and marrying her there. So Rukmini was the first queen of Krishna. And after that, Krishna married two more queens, Jambavati and Satyabhama. Jambavati was the daughter of Jambavan, and Satyabhama was the daughter of Satrajit. Krishna married these two queens also. In this whole episode of Shamantakamani, we have elaborately described that Shamantakamani episode in the last class. And today we will discuss how Krishna married 5 more queens. So Krishna had 16,108 queens, and the first queen was Rukmini, second queen was Jambavati, third queen was Satyabhama, and the remaining 5 principal queens are described in the 58th chapter of 10th canto that we will discuss today. And these 8 queens are the principal queens of Krishna. So apart from these 8 main queens, the principal queens, Krishna also married 16,100 girls who were actually kidnapped by a demon named Bhaumasura or Narakasura. So Krishna released all these girls, all these princesses from Narakasura's captivity after killing Narakasur, and he married all of them, 16,100 girls. So like that, Krishna had 16,108 queens. So 8 are principal queens, 16,100 are the next queens. So we will discuss about 16,100 queens and killing of Narakasura in the next episode. And in the previous episodes, we discussed about first 3 queens. And in this episode, we will discuss the 5 queens of Krishna, beginning with Kalindi. Once, Krishna went from Dwaraka to Indraprastha. Indraprastha was the kingdom of the Pandavas. So earlier, there was a rumor in the previous episode, during the Samantakamani episode, we have seen that Krishna and Balaram went to Hastinapur because there was a rumor, there was a news that Pandavas died in the house made of lac, but Pandavas did not die. So Pandavas were alive, and they eventually got a beautiful kingdom called Indraprastha kingdom. So Krishna, along with his associates, went to Indraprastha to visit Pandavas, who again appeared in the public. So when Krishna went there, he was interacting with Kunti Maharani, Yudhishthir Maharaj, and Bhima, Arjuna, Nakula, Sahadev. So they are all very wonderful devotees of Krishna. So Kunti is a very affectionate aunt of Krishna, and Pandavas are dear cousins of Krishna. And when Krishna went to Indraprastha, Krishna offered obeisances to Maharaj Yudhishthir and Bhima because they are elder cousins. And he embraced Arjuna because he was an equal of Krishna. And Krishna offered blessings to Nakul and Sahadev because they were younger cousins. So according to age, Krishna was reciprocating with the affection of Pandavas. So all the Pandavas were very dear to Krishna. So when Krishna came to Indraprastha, Pandavas stood up by seeing the Lord, and they felt as if their lives have come back to their bodies. So they embraced the Lord, and by the touch of Krishna's transcendental, divine, spiritual body, all these people felt enlivened, and they felt so happy. They felt as if they are free from all sins. So looking at the affectionate, smiling face of Krishna, they were so joyful, and they honored each other. And also, Krishna is specifically affectionate to Draupadi, the wife of the Pandavas. And Draupadi approached Krishna and offered her humble and respectful obeisances to Krishna. And after being duly honored, so Krishna, then Satyaki and other companions of Krishna, they sat in Indraprastha. And meanwhile, Kunti Maharani came and met Krishna. So Kunti also, Krishna bowed down to Kunti because she is maternal aunt, and Kunti's eyes were moistened with tears seeing Krishna because she had such affection for Krishna. She spontaneously had tears in her eyes as soon as she saw Krishna. She embraced Krishna and she inquired about Krishna's welfare and the welfare of all the relatives in Dwaraka Dham. And Kunti remembered all the hardships that she underwent. In the prayers of Queen Kunti, we have discussed that Kunti recollects all the calamities that she underwent. Vishan Mahagnehe Purushada Darshanad Asatsabhaya Vanavasa Krucharataha. So, by this time, many of those things have happened, but some of the things have not yet happened. So, in her childhood only, she lost her husband. When she was very young, she lost her husband. And her son, Kunti's son Bhima, was poisoned when he was a small child. And after that, their house was set on fire. And in the forest, they were attacked by so many demons. During all these calamities, Krishna has been their constant companion, and he protected the Pandavas and Kunti Maharani in various ways. So Kunti's heart was filled with affection and also gratitude. As a maternal aunt, she had affection for Krishna, and as a devotee of Krishna, she was dependent on Krishna and she was very grateful to Krishna. And in the first canto, she offered a prayer to Krishna, saying that, "My dear Lord, let all the calamities come again and again in our lives so that we can depend more on you and we can get your darshan. And by getting your darshan, we don't have to take darshan of this material existence anymore." Like that. And Kunti also felt grateful. Sometime back we discussed that once Krishna, when he came to Mathura, Krishna had sent Akrura to Hastinapur to meet Kunti and console Kunti and comfort Kunti and also give some counseling to Dhritarashtra. Akrura came. Akrura was considered the brother of Kunti. So Kunti felt so happy and she was very much comforted and encouraged by the presence of Akrura. And knowing that Krishna had sent Akrura to Hastinapur, Kunti expressed her gratitude to Krishna. "Krishna, thank you so much. You have sent Akrura to me to drive away my distress." And she said, "Our welfare is completely assured when you remembered us, my dear Lord. When you remember us, when God remembers a devotee, that causes the greatest welfare to the devotees." So Kunti expressed her heartfelt gratitude to Krishna. And Kunti described Krishna's partial nature and impartial nature also. Krishna is simultaneously partial and impartial. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita also, "Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priyah ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya mayi teteshu chapyaham." Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, "I am equal to all living beings. Mamayivamsho jivaloke jiva bhutas sanatanaha." All the living entities are my fragmental parts. They are my devotees. They are my servants. Samoham sarva bhuteshu. I am equal to everyone. And also I don't hate anyone. I don't hold anyone especially dear. But I am very much inclined towards my devotees. Ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya. If someone is dependent on me exclusively, I reciprocate with him with special attention. Krishna says like that. Draupadi also describes, "Oh Lord, you are super soul of the entire universe. Thus you are equal to all, you are neutral to all, and you don't have any such conceptions of mine and theirs. So you eradicate the sufferings of, although you are like this, you are equipoised towards everyone, you specifically eradicate the sufferings of your devotees who are exclusively dependent on you." Whatever Krishna said in Bhagavad Gita, Kunti said here also. She says, natesti swapara bhrantir vishwasya suhrudatmanah tathapi smaratam shashvat kleshan hamsi hridi sthitah. She says, Nate asti swapara bhrantir. Oh Lord, you don't have a conception of swa and para, me, mine and theirs. These are my people, these are someone else's people. You are suhrudatmanaha, vishwasya suhrudatmanaha. You are the supreme well-wisher of every single living entity in the entire universe. And tathapis smaratam shashvat. Still, those who constantly remember you, O my dear Lord, you have a special inclination towards them. And in this way, Kunti expressed her devotion to Krishna. Then Yudhishthir came forward and he expressed his humility towards Krishna. He said, Oh Lord, I don't know what kind of piety we foolish people have done. You are giving us so much of attention and love and affection. We feel that we don't deserve it so much, but still you are giving us so much of affection. We are very grateful. And Yudhishthira Maharaj requested Krishna, Krishna, please stay for some time. For a long time you should stay here at Indraprastha. So Krishna stayed at Indraprastha for the entire monsoon season. Full rainy season, Krishna stayed there. So during that period only, so many things have happened in Pandava's life. So now Krishna stays there in the association of Pandavas as their protector. So there is a beautiful shloka in the first canto of Bhagavatam that says, Sarathya parishada sevana sakhya dautya virasana nugamanastavana pranaman snigdheshu pandushu jagat pranatim cha vishnor bhaktim karoti nrupatis charanara vinde. Sarathya parishada sevana sakhya dautya. Sarathi means a driver, chariot driver. Parishada means the person who receives Agra Puja in the Rajasuya sacrifice. Sarathya Parishada Sevana, like a servant. Sakhya, like a friend. Dautya, like a messenger. Virasana, like a night watchman. Anugavana, following them. Stavana, praising them. Pranaman, offering obeisances to them. In this way, Krishna rendered so many services to the Pandavas. Why? Snigdheshu pandushu jagat pranatim cha vishnor. Although Krishna is Jagat Pranatim cha Vishnor, he is the supreme Vishnu, he is the source of all Vishnus, who receive obeisances and worship from all the residents of all universes. Still that Krishna is affectionate to the Pandavas because Snigdheshu Pandushu. Pandavas are very malleable to the will of the Lord. So Krishna stayed in Indraprastha as protector of all the Pandavas. And even in the Mukundamala Stotra also says how Krishna protects everyone, especially his devotees. Mukundamala Stotra says, Krishna rakshatu no jagatraya guru Krishnam namadhvam sada Krishne na khila shatravo vinihita Krishnaya tasmai namah Krishna deva samuthitam jagadidam Krishnasya dasosmyaham Krishne tishtati vishvamedadakhilam He Krishna rakshasvamam. So this shloka says, Krishna rakshatu no jagatraya guru. Krishna is the guru of all three worlds. He is the teacher of all three worlds. He taught Bhagavad Gita, he taught Uddhava Gita, and he gave teachings to different personalities. So Krishna rakshatu no jagatraya guru Krishnam namadhvam sada. Therefore we have to offer obeisances to Krishna only. Krishne na khila shatravo vinihita Krishnaya tasmai nama. Krishne na akhila shatravo vinihita. So by Krishna's grace, all enemies are vanquished. So when somebody is envying devotees, their envy itself will cause their destruction. Devotees never envy anyone. Devotees have no enemies. For instance, Duryodhan envied Yudhishthir, but Yudhishthir had no envy towards Duryodhan. Yudhishthir was Ajatashatru. So whoever is the enemy of devotee, not from devotee's perspective, from that enemy's perspective, whoever is envying a devotee will be destroyed by Krishna. So Krishnena akhila shatravo vinihitaha Krishnaya tasmai namaha. Therefore offer obeisances to Krishna only. Then Krishna deva samuthitam jagadidam Krishnasya dasosmyaham. Entire universe manifested from Krishna only. Understand, we are all servants of Krishna. Krishne Krishne tishtati vishvameta dakhilam. He Krishna rakshasvamam. Entire universe is dependent on Krishna, has its basis and source of sustenance and origin in Krishna. And when entire universe is destroyed, the universe goes back into Krishna in his form as Mahavishnu. So, hey Krishna rakshasvamam, oh Krishna, please protect us. In this way, devotees offer prayers to Krishna, and Krishna is playing the role of a protector for all the Pandavas. So, during this period, where Krishna, along with some of his associates, stayed in Indraprastha with the Pandavas, some interesting incidents had happened. Once, Krishna and Arjuna went to a large forest. So, in that forest, Arjuna was hunting so many ferocious animals. Sometimes ferocious animals come and disturb the peace of people who are living in villages, and they may destroy crops and all that. So Kshatriyas also have to keep their fighting skills intact. So they go to the forest and kill some ferocious animals who cause harm to people, not innocent animals. So Arjuna went for hunting. So Arjuna shot arrows at some tigers and boars and certain ferocious animals. And all these animals were carried to the king for doing some sacrifices. And when Krishna and Arjuna went for this hunting in the forest, at one place, Arjuna went on the bank of Yamuna. On the bank of Yamuna, he went for water, to drink some water. So at that time, Krishna and Arjuna, both of them bathed in that water, and they saw a very young, beautiful girl on the bank of that Yamuna. She was walking nearby. So Krishna said, who is that beautiful girl? Krishna knows everything. He is all-pervading spirit, supreme Lord, super soul of everything. But still Krishna told Arjuna, Arjuna, who is that young girl? Can you just go and find out who is that girl? Then Arjuna went. Arjuna, being instructed or requested by his dearest friend Krishna, he went to this girl and asked. He said, oh my dear girl, who are you? Who is your father? Means whose daughter are you? And where do you come from? And what are you doing here? You are alone? Then that girl, whose name was Kalindi, she spoke to Arjuna. She replied, saying that I am the daughter of sun god. My name is Kalindi, and my sincere desire is to obtain Lord Vishnu as my dear husband. So I have given my heart to Lord Vishnu, and I will not marry anyone other than Vishnu. And to attain Vishnu as my husband, I am doing severe austerities here in this forest. So she was very determined. I will accept only Vishnu as my husband. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with me and accept me as his dear wife. And she was extremely determined. And she said that I am living in this mansion created by my father within the water of Yamuna. So she is the daughter of sun god, but she is sitting in a palace inside the water doing some penances with a desire to obtain Vishnu as her husband. So then Sukadeva Goswami continued to describe. Arjuna came back to Krishna and told everything. Oh, this girl is Kalindi. She wanted to marry Vishnu and she is the daughter of sun god. She is doing austerities now. Krishna knows everything already. So Krishna said, okay, fine. So let us take her. So Krishna and Arjuna took Kalindi on their chariot and went to Indraprastha. And after that, Krishna took this Kalindi to Dwaraka and married Kalindi in Dwaraka. Because she wanted to attain Vishnu as her husband. And Krishna is the source of Vishnu. Krishna is non-different from Vishnu in that sense. So Vishnu is a form of Krishna. So Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamena Tishtan Nanavatara Makarod Bhavaneshu Krintu Krishna Swayam Samabhavat Paramah Pumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. All the forms of Vishnu Tattvas are non-different in one sense. But Krishna is the source of all those forms because Krishna is like that original candle who lights all these candles. So in that sense, Krishna is the source of all these forms. Krishna is superior. But in one sense, there is non-difference also because they are all Vishnu Tattvas. she wanted to marry Vishnu, and Krishna is the original Vishnu, original Narayana. So even Bhishma also says that Krishna is the original Narayana or origin of all Narayanas. He says that Yesha vai Bhagavan Sakshat Adyo Narayana Puman. So this he is Bhagavan, Sakshat Bhagavan Krishna, and Adyo Narayana Puman. He is the source of Narayana also. So then Krishna eventually marries Kalindi at Dwaraka when he goes back to Dwaraka. And there are a few other incidents that happened when Krishna was staying at Indraprastha. So once Krishna has been requested by the Pandavas. So Krishna instructed Vishwakarma to build a very wonderful building and city for the Pandavas. And the Lord stayed for a lot of time with the Pandavas, and during that time he went to Khandava forest. So Krishna wanted to give Khandava forest as a gift to Agni. So Agni just burns the entire Khandava forest, and all the herbs and medicinal plants which are there in this Khandava forest will be devoured by Agni, and that is good for him because he is taking a lot of ghee oblations in the fire. And through Arjuna he has given that gift, and Lord Agni Dev presented Arjuna with a bow, with a quiver, and with beautiful white horses and a chariot and an armor. So all these are there to equip Arjuna to fight the Kurukshetra war in the future and many other wars to destroy the demons. Because Krishna descended on this planet to reduce the burden of the earth, and Krishna personally killed so many demons and demoniac people, and Krishna does this whole activity or executes the mission of reducing the burden of earth through some devotees also. He engages Arjuna and Bhima and other devotees also to do it. So then Arjuna received all this armor, then chariot and horses and bow from Arjuna, from the Agni, fire god. Then later, when a demon Maya was saved by Arjuna in that whole fire, Arjuna saves the demon named Maya, and Maya gives a very mystic assembly hall to Arjuna, to the Pandavas. So he builds a very beautiful hall, and that hall has a lot of mystic and magical things. So in that hall only, once Duryodhan thought that it is land, and he just fell into a pond there, water body, and people laughed at him, and then he felt so offended, and later he wanted to insult Draupadi and Pandavas in various ways. So in this way, Krishna stayed for some time in Indraprastha. He got so many things done through the Pandavas, and he again went back to the city of Dwaraka along with his associates. And when he went back to Dwaraka, he married Kalindi there. So this is the fourth wife of Krishna, Kalindi. So after that, Krishna married another wife named Mitravinda. She is the fifth queen. So the rulers of Avanti, Vindhya and Anuvindhya kingdoms, so they were the followers of Duryodhan. Duryodhan had a very good friendship with these kings. So they had a sister named Mitravinda. In Mitravinda, they organized a Swayamvara ceremony for the marriage of Mitravinda, and Mitravinda chose Krishna as her husband. Swayamvara means the girl would choose her own husband. There are no restrictions for the girl. So girl should just go, and then she had the choice of marrying a boy in that Swayamvara ceremony. But in that Swayamvara ceremony, Mitravinda desired to marry Krishna, but these people opposed it. So when Mitravinda desired Krishna, and Krishna is okay with having Mitravinda as his fifth wife, fifth queen, but these inimical kings who were supporters of Duryodhana, they became very envious of Krishna, and they objected it. But Krishna forcibly took away this princess Mitravinda, and she is the daughter of his aunt Rajadhi Devi. So many rival kings were chasing Krishna, but Krishna defeated all of them and he took Mitravinda and then married her. So like that, Kshatriyas, during their marriage ceremonies, also there are some fights in Kshatriyas' lives. And later, Krishna went to a kingdom of Koshala or Kaushalya. So Krishna went to this Koshala kingdom. The king of that Koshala kingdom at that time was Nagnajit. Nagnajit had a beautiful daughter named Nagnajiti. She is also called Satya. She is different from Satyabhama. Satyabhama was the daughter of Satrajit. This Satya was the daughter of Nagnajit. That's why she is also called Nagnajiti. So this Nagnajiti is very beautiful, and Krishna went to this Koshala kingdom, and this king of Koshala, this Nagnajit, has received Krishna with great love and affection and reverence. And this Nagnajit has taken a great vow in the case of his marriage, in his daughter's marriage. He said that he declared that he had 7 great powerful bulls. So he declared that whoever subdues these bulls, whoever could control these bulls, they will be the right personalities to marry my daughter. I will give my daughter in marriage to that one powerful man who can subdue my 7 bulls. So he has taken a vow like this, and nobody could manage to do that. So many people tried, so many powerful kings tried, strong kings tried, but they only broke their bones and bodies. So the bulls were so powerful that nobody could conquer these bulls. So Nagnajiti is not yet married. So once Krishna visited this Koshala kingdom, and Koshala, the king of Koshala, was very pleased to see the Lord and worshipped Krishna, and the Lord accepted the honor and greeted the king very respectfully. And Nagnajiti also saw Krishna, and she offered a prayer to goddess Rama. Because Nagnajiti loved Krishna spontaneously, she asked the goddess of fortune, "Oh goddess of fortune, oh Rama Devi, can you please bestow me this one benediction? My heart is desiring Krishna as my husband. If I have kept my vows, may the sacred fire bring about the fulfillment of all my hopes. So this is my desire. I want to marry Krishna." So just like Rukmini Devi spontaneously, by hearing Krishna's qualities, she has given her heart to Krishna, and she desired Krishna as her husband. Similarly, this Nagnajiti also desired Krishna as her husband. So then she said about Krishna's greatness and her own insignificance. She speaks a beautiful verse. Yat pada pankaja rajah shirasa bibharti shrirabhyajah sagirishaha sahaloka palaihi leela tanuh swakrita setu paripsayaya kale dadhatsa bhagavan mamakena tushyet. In this shloka she says that the dust from the lotus feet of Krishna is desired by Brahma, Shiva, Lakshmi and so many exalted personalities. She says, Yat pada pankaja rajaha. Pada is lotus feet of Krishna. Pankaja means the lotus which is born out of mud. Pada pankaja means lotus feet. Pada pankada raja means the dust from the lotus feet of Krishna. Yat pada pankaja rajaha Shirasa Vibharti, that lotus feet of the dust of lotus feet of Krishna is kept on the head by great personalities. Shri Rabhyajaha Sa Girishaha Saha Lokapalaihi. Shri means Lakshmi, Girisha is Shiva, and Lokapala means so many devatas who are the administrators of this universe. All these people will hold the dust from Krishna's lotus feet on their heads. Leela tanuhu swakrita seshu setu paripsayaya. So the Lord is very sportive in his leelas, and to protect the courts of religious systems, he comes in various incarnations. How can that Lord be pleased with me and accept me as his wife? I am so insignificant in comparison to that Lord, to Lord Vishnu, Lord Krishna. So will I be able to get him as my husband? So in this way, this Nagnajiti was desiring when Krishna visited her kingdom, Koshala. So meanwhile, Nagnajiti's father, Nagnajit, and Krishna were discussing. So Nagnajit told Krishna, "Oh Krishna, you are actually the original Lord Narayana. You are the Lord of entire universe. You are full in yourself. You don't need anything beyond yourself for your satisfaction. Therefore, what can an insignificant person like me do for you? You have come to my kingdom and I worshipped you. I want to render some specific service to you. Do you want me to do any service to you? So what am I supposed to do for you? How can I please you? Can you give me an opportunity to render service?" So Krishna said, "My dear king, I want your daughter's hand. I want to marry your daughter." So now the Lord, like all these girls, desired Krishna. But here Krishna is personally going to the kingdom of this girl and asking for her hand. What is the great fortune of Nagnajiti? So he just says that he was very pleased with the attitude of Nagnajit and Nagnajiti also. And he said that I am begging, though it is condemned. Generally, when a prince directly goes to the girl's father and asks, "Give me your daughter in marriage to me," it's not considered very respectable or very honorable in those days. The girl's father should come and offer the daughter to the boy, but here the boy is going and asking. So it's not that respectable. It's considered like that. But the Lord is beyond all the rules and regulations of this external world. Basically, Nagnajiti is a great devotee of Krishna who is sincerely desiring to become Krishna's wife, and Krishna recognized the heartfelt desire of Nagnajiti and he wanted to reciprocate with the love and affection and devotion of Nagnajiti. So he went directly to her father and said, "I want to marry your daughter." So Krishna does not just stick to his sense of honor or prestige. He would personally go and ask for the hand of his devotee, because the devotee is very sincerely desiring Krishna. So then he says that I am begging, although it is condemned for the royal order, please give your daughter as charity, though we can offer no gifts in exchange. नरेंद्र याचना कविभिर विगर्हिता राजन्य बंधोर निज धर्मवर्तिनः तथापि याचे तव सौहृदेच्छया कन्याम त्वदीयाम नहि शुल्कदावयम. We cannot offer any shulka. We cannot offer any gifts back to you. You just give your daughter to us. So like that Krishna desired. Krishna said. Then Nagnajit was actually happy with the proposal. He said that, my dear Lord, you are the Supreme Lord, and who else can be a better husband for my daughter other than you? You are the most qualified husband for my daughter, and actually speaking, it's my daughter's great fortune and it is my great fortune to have you in our kingdom, and you are personally asking like this. But I have one condition. Actually, as a Kshatriya, I have taken a vow that I will get my daughter married to only to that person who can subdue my 7 bulls. So these bulls are not tied with some ropes. They are very powerful. So many people tried to subdue these bulls to win the hand of my daughter, but no one could manage to do it. They only broke their bones and broke their bodies, and then they left. They were defeated. So if you can manage to do it, just to respect this whole vow and the whole condition that I had kept for my daughter's marriage, it is common for Kshatriyas. Just like Janaka Maharaj, so he wanted to get his daughter Sita Devi married to only to that person who can string that bow of Lord Shiva. So Lord Ram effortlessly strung that bow, and then he even broke that bow also. Then Janaka Maharaj had happily given that daughter, his daughter Sita Devi, to Lord Ramachandra. So sometimes Kshatriyas take that kind of vows. So here he said that to ascertain a proper husband, previously we have kept a condition to test the prowess of our would-be son-in-law. So can you please do this for us? Then if you can subdue, then you can take the hand of my daughter. Then Krishna tamed these bulls and married the princesses. How? Krishna expanded himself into 7 forms. There are 7 Krishnas now. In Dwaraka, in future, Krishna will be expanding himself into 16,108 forms, and he would be uh, spending time with all his 16,108 queens in 16,108 palaces. But and also in Vrindavan, Krishna expanded himself into thousands and thousands and thousands of forms to dance with each and every single gopi in the Rasa Leela, Rasa dance. So for him to expand into 7 forms to subdue 7 bulls is not a great thing. It's not so significant for Krishna. So Krishna expanded into 7 forms and he fought with these 7 bulls and subdued them very effortlessly. And Krishna's wives felt great ecstasy upon then finally, yes, Nagnajit has given his daughter Nagnajiti in marriage to Krishna very happily, and Krishna brought her to his kingdom Dwaraka. And Krishna already had 5 wives before. And then seeing this, Krishna had actually 4 wives before. I'm sorry, 5 wives. So Krishna had first wife was Rukmini, and next wife was Jambavati, next Satyabhama, then Kalindi, Mitravinda. So these are the 5 wives Krishna had married already till now. And 6th wife is Nagnajiti. And all the previous 5 wives felt so happy to see their 6th co-wife. So Krishna married this princess. And the king Nagnajit was pleased and astonished because no one could manage to subdue these bulls. Nagnajit was quite astonished. So the king's wives felt great ecstasy, and then different musical instruments were played, and also King Nagnajit has given so much of dowry to Krishna. So this dowry is not a forceful extraction of money from the girl's parents. It is a very loving and voluntary gift offered by the girl's parents to the girl and the boy whom the girl got married to. There were 10,000 cows, 3,000 young maid servants, and 9,000 elephants, and 100 times as many chariots as elephants, 100 times as many horses as chariots, and 100 times as many man servants as horses. So this much of entourage came from Nagnajit's kingdom to Krishna's kingdom. So the king of Koshala, his heart was melting with affection, sent this Nagnajiti or Satya as the 6th wife of Krishna. Then some intolerant kings came there. Again, out of their envy, they came there to attack Krishna. And somehow Arjuna was also accompanying Krishna. And Arjuna also fought with these kings and then subdued them. And Krishna has taken Satya or Nagnajiti to his kingdom. And the Lord took his dowry and Satya to Dwaraka and continued to live there very happily. So this is how Krishna married 6 queens so far. The 7th queen of Krishna was Bhadra. So Bhadra was the daughter of the king of Kaikeya. So the daughter of Krishna's parental aunt Shrutakirti. Bhadra was the daughter of Shrutakirti and the king of Kaikeya. So Lord married when her brothers headed by Santardhana offered her to him. So it's a very peaceful marriage. So that's how our Krishna married his 7th queen Bhadra. And the 8th queen was Lakshmana. So Krishna married this 8th queen Lakshmana in a very peculiar way. And that is not described in this chapter. That is described in the 10th canto, 83rd chapter, where Draupadi meets all the queens of Krishna at Kurukshetra. There Lakshmana herself describes her marriage story to Draupadi and other queens there who assembled there. So Krishna once went to the marriage ceremony, the Swayamvara ceremony of Lakshmana. So this Lakshmana has repeatedly heard about Krishna, and she had a lot of love and affection for Krishna. And Lakshmana, by hearing about Krishna, developed a lot of attraction towards Krishna, and she desired Krishna as her husband. And specifically, Lakshmana heard about Krishna from Narada Muni. Narada Muni is a pure devotee of the Lord, and when a pure devotee describes the glory of the Lord, anyone has to get attracted. So Lakshmana got attracted, and she, at her heart, she has already accepted him as her husband. And her father was Brihatsena. He was naturally very compassionate towards his daughter, and he is also very much favorably inclined to get his daughter married to Krishna. So, but he had kept one condition there, as it is common for Kshatriyas. So he erected a big yantra, Matsya yantra, or a big system where the boy has to come and pierce a fish to win the hand of this Lakshmana. So the fish was used as a target in this Swayamvara ceremony to assure that a qualified bowman only will take the hand of this girl Lakshmana. And this one, this Matsyayantra that Krishna has won, was more complicated than that Matsyayantra which was erected during Draupadi's Swayamvara sacrifice. So during the Draupadi's Swayamvara ceremony also, Draupadi's father Drupada Maharaj, he erected a big Matsyayantra, and nobody could manage to pierce that fish. So Arjuna could manage to do it. But during the Swayamvara ceremony of Lakshmana, the Matsyayantra which was there is much more complicated. So Krishna could manage to do it. So thousands of, she also describes that this fish was concealed from all sides and only its reflection was seen in a pot in the water below. Someone has to see the reflection of the fish and then pierce the fish, and the fish is moving constantly. So then thousands of kings who were expert in shooting arrows, they tried, and Shishupala, Jarasandha, then Bhima, Duryodhan, Karna, so many people tried to pierce this fish, but only Krishna could effortlessly succeed, and he married Lakshmana. So in this way, Krishna married 8 queens: Rukmani, then Jambavati, Satyabhama, Kalindi, Mitravinda, Nagnajiti, Bhadra, and the 8th queen is Lakshmana. So we have discussed the marriages of Krishna with his 8 principal queens, and in the next episode we will discuss about Krishna's marriage with 16,100 more queens, and we will also discuss how Krishna killed Narakasura and helped Indra and made Narakasura's son as the king of his kingdom. So thank you all very much. Granthara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.